Welcome to our Friday Flex. This is your host, Keith and Joseph, and we're flexing on you on this nice Friday morning.
I command you to grow.
So, as you know, we are working on the third part of our series of mind control, or it could be called the enemy of the mind, or how to control the mind or train the mind. So last week we talked about a couple of the senses. We used an analogy from a yoga book called the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, and it illustrated.
Let the knees touch. He's trying to get in the screen.
So it illustrated 5 horses. And those 5 horses all had different medallions on their chest, and the one medallion was the ears, which was for hearing, the eyes for seeing, the nose for smelling, the skin for touching, and then the mouth.
Well, you got to get his hand.
And then the mouth for tasting. So we were kind of going into how each of these senses, and we started with the mouth, or the sense of taste, and I believe was feeling. Is that what you recall? The
Feeling.
Touch sensation.
On what day? I know we talked about the tongue last time.
We didn't talk about 2, or just 1?
I think it was just one. I mean, we did an intro the very first day. We kind of just touched
we
over,
touched
like
a couple,
a lot of different things.
Yeah,
but
right.
I know last time we went straight into the tongue. And then, but what do you want to do today?
Same thing we do every Friday. Flex. So we'll talk
and moisturize.
And moisturize. Stay moisturized.
Stay moist.
So today we'll talk about sight, the sense of seeing, and how the sense of seeing is a tool in which the mind, without proper guidance, can take our time up quite a bit. So, for example, the reason why I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on this is because sometimes we want to be stimulated through what we see. So that's why there's a big entertainment industry that spends billions of dollars every year on captivating somebody for that hour or 2 hours, sometimes 3, and gets them wrapped up in someone's life, whether it's fake or a biography of someone's experience. But it's that excitement, it's that stimulation that causes one to indulge in binging or watching hours of something. And I have been guilty of binging for different shows, because the idea of stimulation is we want to feel something. We want to have some type of engagement, and so through the eyes, the stimulation through the sight, we very often, if the mind is not trained well enough, we will invest our sight in things in which can disturb, sometimes skew our sense of reality. And so oftentimes, when we do not have a measurement or a proper tool of discrimination between what we watch, then those things that we watch, whether it's a horror, whether it's drama, whether it's
There's an OR at the end of that, don't you?
horror. While watching these things, we're literally allowing whatever we're watching to affect us on a subconscious level. And these things, these images that pop into one's mind affect us for the rest of the day, even into the nighttime. I don't know how many of you all can remember a time where you watched something on television and it popped up in your dream, like this, and it may have been more than just one night. It may have been multiple nights. You may have had nightmares for a week, months, maybe even years, because of that one thing that the mind saw, and so, or the eyes saw and the mind processed and just held on to, and some people enjoy looking at some type of violence, and this violence that goes on is what we watch, and of course we think, oh, this is just TV. This is not real. But those actions, those horrors, the thrill continues in our subconscious and begins to affect how we react with the world and how we view the world. Because most of the times, our view of the world is the reflection of our internal environment. And that internal environment is shaped by what we see. So if the mind is stimulated by fantasy, thriller.
That was a great album, though.
Thriller? Yeah. Yeah. And also, just different stimulating things that may not be the best use of time, then it affects how we think, how we feel. And so in the Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about how any of the untrained senses, whether it's the sense of touch, taste, sight, smell, any of those uncontrolled senses, any one of them can completely derail someone's progress. Mm-hmm. And you may think, well, I'm just watching, just harmless, scary movie. It's just harmless. Mm-hmm. I remember when I begged my mom to watch Exorcist. Begged her. And she was like, nope.
The first one? Like the original one that came out?
The OG. The original.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to watch it because I heard all this commotion about The Exorcist. So I was like, why not? My mom was like, no, don't waste your time on that. But at that time, I had time to waste. I wanted to see. And so my mom, when she wasn't there, with the help of a friend, I got a VHS copy of The Exorcist. And I watched it. And it messed me up. I tell you, I literally had nightmares. And I was thinking, why did I do this to myself? Because the thing about images, things we watch, is that it's not like there is no collateral damage. Especially if it's not like it doesn't get recorded in our mind. And depending on the quality of the content, then it can either be extremely relishable and uplifting and empowering, or it can be damaging. And so I remember watching it, and there's a part where a little girl's head turns to 360. And I'm thinking, so why? and I as I got older, I thought about there are people who, based off of what they watch, based off of what they've read, or what they've experienced through their eyes, come up with these ideas in which can be devastating to actually put into production.
Yeah.
And so as I mentioned, the roaming senses. So because we're talking about the eye, we must pay particular intent. We must think about how, even though it's just a sense that we use every day, how powerful it is if it is not used with intention. And your mom, Mama Swift says, that's why I don't watch horror movies at bedtime. It's true. Exorcist, the scariest and the first of its kind in 1977, took 6 months to get over the fear of watching the movie.
The same situation that you were talking about.
Yeah.
The thing is, most people don't realize that advertisement, as you were pointing out, and movies, and I mean, there is millions and billions of dollars that are put into that industry, because as soon as one hears about something. Now, there's a verse actually in the Bible, I cannot remember where it is. I'm struggling to find it. It's been a minute. Right. But it basically points out in short that when you hear of something, and keep in mind, yes, we may hear of things, but even if we see something, because on TV, right, on a billboard, in a magazine, there are tons of images that say, hey, if you buy this car, or if you buy this product, some females think that if they buy this specific product, that they will become beautiful. They don't realize that they're already beautiful, right? If you buy this car, that you're going to get this and this and that, or these people will be attracted to you and they'll look up to you. You will not be what some people may call a loser, but you will be somebody of significance or importance.
You are somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're being advertised to, we're being marketed to that, if we get this, then we'll be happy. And so what it points out in that verse, and you've actually touched on it last time, is that as soon as we see or learn of something, the senses, right, they will always be attracted to their sense objects. So now that you're thinking about something, and the mind and then the brain is attached to the nervous system and, the senses, they're like, well, you know what? Let's see what this is all about. So then we start to develop an attachment for it. From attachment, then lust develops. From lust, because if we don't get what we want in the way that we want it, then we become frustrated. And then from frustration, then we become angry. And from anger, then, of course, wrath, and, of course, bewilderment, and so forth. And the society, or should I say the industry for advertisement, is meant to play on our suffering. If we feel insufficient, or if we feel like there is some void in our lives and we're thinking that I need whatever it is that is being advertised to us, again, a car, a house, or, this or that, then we're thinking I need that to fill that void. Or if I eat this type of food, I'm going to be happy. Or if I go to this gym, I'm going to be happy. Or whatever it may be. And so, again, they're playing on our insecurities, or they're playing on our suffering, or whatever we're experiencing. And then when we bite that bait, and we get that hook in our lip, and we see that we're being taken most of us don't realize we're being taken for a ride. So a lot of times, I'll just give you an example. I used to sell cars, but I was very cautious when I sold cars, because you have some individuals that come there and they are emotional shoppers. They're just there and they're for the thrill. They're like, wow, this is great. Okay, I want the car. And you can sell them the car, not a problem. But when you start looking at the numbers, you're like, wait a second. You can't even, of course you got to do some qualifying questions, to qualify the person.
Right.
But, when you start looking at everything, you're like, wait, hold on a second. From a logical thinking about everything carefully, you see, no, this is actually not the right fit for you, But a lot of times we don't realize that we put ourselves in situations where we put ourselves in some financial difficulty because we were so, I gotta have this, I need it, but why can't I have it? I must have it. And you give it to them, and convincing them. So with the advertising industry and so forth, yeah, it could be a bit of a disaster for someone if we're not cautious, and therefore we have to use our intelligence. And if we don't have someone, we have to find someone that does to seek advice to see, okay, what do I need to do in terms of making an intelligent decision in terms of how I utilize my funds or my finances. Otherwise, if we don't use things properly and we don't think about things in terms of how, the long-term effects, sometimes we might think about short-term effects, but if we don't look and see about the long-term effects and longevity of certain things, then yeah, we could put ourselves in a very difficult situation down the road. So
I was thinking, and you mentioned the beauty products, and how there's so much emphasis on beauty, especially in today's society in which you're not of value unless you have so many followers, and
that's true too.
And so with this creation of AI, I've seen so many people kind of doctor up their photos a little bit. People that are grandparents' ages, wanting to look like their 20s again because it's perception. Like, I want to be seen as beautiful. I want to be seen as youthful. And there's nothing, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have a good feeling about oneself.
Yeah.
However, the feeling should be here. It shouldn't be based off of how other people, view oneself.
Or at least one's external should be a reflection of what's really happening internally. Like if you see how beautiful you really are, and that's deep within the core of you, then, people may want that to be reflected externally. And I get that.
And I remember reading, it was from the Spiritual Warrior series, and it was explained that beauty is actually caused from the presence of the soul or the energy within inside of us. And so if you ever see a dead body, no one says, oh, that's a beautiful dead body. You have to put all this makeup on it. But when the body's alive, it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like, and
that is the nature of the soul in general.
And B.T. Swami was saying that when one connects even deeper to their source, then the energy within inside the body, the soul has no other choice but to radiate even brighter. And one becomes even more beautiful. Doesn't need makeup, doesn't need, a Rolex, doesn't need all types of fancy clothes, but the natural symptom of that connection is you're magnifying the beauty that is given to you.
Yeah, I got to work on that so my hands look beautiful. I got to moisturize from the inside out.
So I thought about, we have our sense of quality, our sense of happiness in society nowadays has become so perverted.
Of course.
And speaking of perversion, as we were talking about the industry of film and the porn industry has created it's almost, I don't know if it's $1 trillion, but it's definitely $1 billion. Definitely multi-billion-dollar industry. Because people have resorted to animalistic mentalities, where it's just like the beauty. And I was reading this in the Spiritual Warrior the other day, and the beauty of sex is there. Like it's inherent. There's a beauty about it because there's a connection between people. Mm-hmm. However, when that connection is not for the purpose of bringing a highly advanced being into this world through, birth, and it is just showboated, it is just exploited. When you bring children into it, when you bring animals into it, when you bring all these other types of elements into something that by nature is supposed to be beautiful and sacred, then you pervert it, and it destroys the innocence of the mind. And I remember multi-billion-dollar industry, yeah. I remember when I moved down here, I had that kind of problem with porn. And I remember what it did, the kind of effect that it had on my mind, viewing relationships. And it lasted a long time, even after quitting watching it. Because the degradation that happens to the mind and also to one's thoughts of others is a long-term effect. And I remember listening to Transformation Church, the pastor there, Mike Todd, talked about, he often talked about his previous addiction to porn and how it affected him. And when he gave his life to God, that, the desire was no longer there. And I thought about these unsuspecting children who are sexualized by what is seen on television. I remember there was a, I think it was Aladdin.
Was that the one you were showing me? You and Ebony were showing me this one video?
Maybe.
Or if it wasn't Aladdin, it was something else, and it seemed. Was that Pocahontas? It was some cartoon you guys had.
It was either Aladdin or Little Mermaid.
This wasn't underwater. I didn't see Sebastian. And it wasn't Aladdin because I can show you the world. And that wasn't happening either. There was something else going on. But it was like a Disney cartoon or something. I think it was like Pocahontas or something like that. Okay. And someone came up from somewhere, and I was like, "This is a cartoon?"
I think it was Pocahontas. It was yes.
And I was like, "What kind of cartoon is this?" Like for adults, the adults wouldn't notice. Like, hey, something's off, right?
Yeah, nuances.
But the thing is, the kids wouldn't have noticed that,
right? Yeah.
And then they will think that that's an okay thing.
Yeah.
And then their minds becoming disturbed, being that their minds are so young and they're so innocent, they don't know anything about this behavior or mentality. So then now their mind is getting agitated and disturbed. When the mind is agitated and disturbed, because the mind is, and the brain specifically is associated with the senses, then now the senses are also becoming disturbed, and they're acquiring a taste for certain things. And no wonder why we see these kids playing or doing certain behaviors at such a young age.
Right.
And they really don't even know that should be kept sacred.
Right.
Like they don't know anything about the importance and significance of what that is, And just like in Coneheads, where they had the sensory rings. They didn't understand. They didn't understand that that's not appropriate for their young cones. But yeah, when someone gets on that train, it'll or start riding that particular horse, it will ride you for a while.
You know, and I was thinking about how for example, Aladdin, if you're not paying attention, actually, let me use Little Mermaid, because in Little Mermaid, if you're not paying attention, what you see can become normalized. And so there's a scene in the beginning, or one part of the Aladdin where you saw, is it Ariel?
Ariel, I thought, was in Little Mermaid. Jasmine is the princess.
Jasmine, okay. So Little Mermaid, Ariel. So in Little Mermaid, so there's a view of the kingdom of Ariel, and in the background you saw shafts, and to the untrained eye it just looked like towers, but actually they were genitals in the background. And if you can research it. Don't take my word for it.
But it's not in the book.
But it's definitely not in the book. And then on Aladdin, as you're watching Aladdin kind of on the carpet coming up to Jasmine, there's a scene in which, for a brief second, what's said very quickly is take off your clothes. And
that's subtle.
And it's extremely subtle. It's interesting how technology, there's ways to identify or highlight certain things that we may not have seen before, or we may not even heard before.
Subliminal message.
Subliminal messaging, yes. And this is in Aladdin, and those who have the old VHS copies still have that. Now they've taken it out, but those who have the VHS copies can replay this, and it says take off your clothes.
Don't tell me you took your clothes off, did you, when you wasn't it?
I don't think so. Maybe I took a shower. But so back to the point of where the kids are getting sexualized at an early age, and the brains of the parents are already like perverted because we've decades of sexualization. I mean, look at advertisements. You know, it's like they need some girl on the magazine or some guy on the magazine, and something skimpy, something revealing, just to sell something. And it's like, because people are so attracted to beauty, or attracted to the idea of maybe this person I can see this person in this kind of image, or maybe if I buy this thing, this person comes with it, you know, person not included. But we think, oh, this thing looks really nice. And therefore, it's going to make me happy. If I'm able to obtain it, then I can become happy. And you were quoting from the second chapter of Gita, text 62. And there was a word in Sanskrit used called dhyato. And it says, while engaging in vinaya, sense objects, while engaging or while interacting with sense objects, one develops kama, lust, or the desire.
Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa.
Yeah.
So contemplating. While contemplating the object of the senses, one develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises.
Yeah. And so it's very technical what happens. We see something, and if we are trained in a certain way, then that sight, that the power of vision becomes that hook in the lip of the unsuspecting person. So we see something, oh, that'll be really nice. That'll be, maybe if I buy this and I look this, like if I buy these Jordans, then people will see these. Or if I buy this new Honda or this new Rolls Royce, people will see me and automatically I will have respect.
But what did Biggie Smalls say? More money, more problems.
Yeah, he did.
So we think if I get all these things, I'll be happy. But then we don't realize that there's usually a lot of problems associated with it. Like someone wins the lottery, and they think, wow, this is going to change my life, and blah, 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 blah. And all the people who they thought were friends or people who they didn't even know come out of the woodwork. It's like, hey, you remember me from blah, 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 blah? And then they're, wanting to exploit you in some way, shape, or form. So even though it may look wonderful, whatever it is that we see, and we may even be able to visualize ourselves or see ourselves in that position of, whether fame or prestige in some way, shape, or form, or just a better lifestyle, but there is so much attached to it that we don't see.
And if we're not trained, we won't see it.
No.
I remember you were mentioning about the expertise of an athlete, and the reason why they're expert is because of their discipline.
Yes.
And so in society nowadays, there's such a lack of discipline because it's just the concept is whatever I feel like doing, let me do it.
Exactly.
Without any hindrance, without any obstruction, any obstacle, let me do it. I don't even want to think about what I'm going to do. I just want to do it.
Yeah. I don't care about the consequences.
I don't care consequences.
I just want to enjoy it. Why are you always, interfering with my happiness? You just don't want me to be happy.
Right.
And so, exactly, you're right. We cut out any person who may be either in a position of a parent or a coach or someone who cares about us that is giving us sound advice. We cut them out so that we can say, I just want to live my life.
Do me. Let me do me.
Yeah, let me do me. Why can't you just accept me as I am?
YOLO.
But the thing is, just like parents, when we were little kids, I remember my mother, she wouldn't let me spend the night with the other kids that lived down the street. I said, Mom, can I sleep over at their house tonight? My mother said no, and I'm thinking, why don't you want me to have fun? That's how, as kids, we only see the immediate happiness and fun, but we don't understand because we don't have their experience, we don't have their wisdom and their ability to make proper discernment and judgment. We don't see that, there's more to it that we're not able to see. We have this narrow, we're myopic, we're just short-sighted and narrow vision. So we don't see that, this person, I'll put it this way. There were some individuals in our neighborhood that were either raped or molested or taken advantage of sexually. But as a little kid, we don't see that. We're thinking the immediate happiness of just being able to hang out and play with somebody. We just don't know of the imminent danger that is lurking right there in the shadow. And so, but again, as we were talking about the YOLO, actually, what does YOLO mean?
You only live once.
You only live once.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy it. Let me, I only live once. Let me have this joy and excitement. But again, our parents who have our best heart our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
They may not break it down in terms of why we can't do it, but there's a reason. The thing is, that's part of discipline. The word discipline, in short, meaning, to be like a disciple. And in short, meaning that we have to accept some authority. Mm-hmm. We have to accept some guidance, some, standard. Mm-hmm. Some core values have to be there that we're following, and we're maintaining discipline, and we're maintaining our integrity. Otherwise, we become another statistic or victim.
Yeah.
In one sense, unfortunately, some of those kids end up becoming victims in that neighborhood.
Right. And so, one of the things, to go back to the 62 part, the word association was mentioned 3 times.
Sangha, yes.
Yeah. So
maybe more. But yeah.
Yeah. It was mentioned 3 times, and it was to put emphasis on, just by being in close proximity with something, desire develops. I remember hearing, apparently in the prison system, that because the inhabitants are amongst each other for such a long time, that desire develops because of association. And unfortunately, and I use this example because that desire, without that kind of association, would never happen in close proximity. And so when we are in...
I got some questions for you. But go ahead and complete your thought.
So I'm bringing this point up because a lot of times when we interact when we're watching something that generally we would never have watched, but because we are around people for a long period of time, if they have desires that we never have, if we're close to them for a long period of time, we start developing their same desires.
Just like if you take an iron rod and you put it close to a fire, that iron rod will also get hot as well, because of its close association to that fire. So I'm following you. In chemistry, that's called a dipole-induced dipole moment. So I'm right there with you. I'm following you.
Yeah.
I'm about to slide over this way. Don't know what kind of TV shows you be watching. I don't even have a TV. I'm gonna be over here, y'all, if y'all need me.
You gonna eat your cornbread?
Hell yeah, I'm gonna eat my cornbread. So, the consequences and repercussions.
So, but it's through the association of objects or different things that we develop some type of desire for them. And so the eyes, we can see so many things. And that's what I was going to say also before this, the proximity or the sangha, the association analogy, is that you never hear someone do something intelligent before they yell YOLO, or before they say YOLO. It's always something extremely stupid. Let me jump off the 2nd-story building. YOLO, you only live once. And now you're dead. Because you didn't tuck and roll. But the thing is, we have such a perverted understanding of what the value of life is, that we waste our time in so many things. And my grandmother used to call the television the one-eyed monster. And as I got older, I understood. Do I still succumb to the one-eyed monster from time to time? Yeah. But I realized after almost binging a season, I'm like, oh no.
YOLO!
I'm like, you know what? I could be doing something much better right now. Because BTS Swami says that in life,
BTS.
BT Swami,
Wow, you went to insurance.
BT Swami,
There's an insurance company called BTIS. So.
yeah. So BT Swami said, was mentioning that you are either developing or degrading. There's never neutral. Mm-hmm. And so if you are engaging in things in which develop the sharpness of the mind, which make one more intelligent or bring about a higher awareness of one's self on a relative level or on an absolute level, then by doing that, you're engaging your senses properly. But if you're not doing that, if you're not doing something which develops it, but degrades it, then you're wasting your time. And so so if we're watching something that is not helping us become a more profound person, mm-hmm. a more loving person, a more compassionate person, but we're only becoming more scared, we're only developing more anxiety, we're developing more hate, we're developing uncontrolled lust.
And we become more and more desensitized to what's actually happening, like the various different injustices that are taking place in the world around us. Because we think, oh, it's just entertainment.
Yeah.
But we don't realize that we're becoming desensitized. And so we just think, oh, it's nothing, no big deal. Mm-hmm. And so what happens, unfortunately, because we're seeing this and we think it's just okay, keep in mind that the mind, as we mentioned last week, the mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is not real. Mm-hmm. So even, like you give an example of watching a scary movie in the daytime or just before bed, but then when you go to sleep that night, you still feel the same fear and anxiety
that you when the lights come off. You're like,
that morning.
Yeah.
But now it's in a dream,
right.
And now you're reliving those anxieties and fears that you had when you were watching the movie. And so when things are actually taking place in reality, mm-hmm. we become so desensitized that we don't even act or stand up and fight against it. Mm-hmm. And so like you were pointing out with this word Sangha, and we were talking about some things last night after the hour. Oh, don't be giving away my good stuff. This is all something. Get your own bottle, get it. Oh, snatch my bottle, get it. I'm from the west side of Detroit. You know what these moisturized hands can do? You will be blessed. So thing is, we become desensitized to different injustices, and therefore we don't even use our voice. Mm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so we let the man, for lack of better words, take that power from us. Mm-hmm. And so we only see on the news things in terms of people who may be standing up and speaking out against injustices, being either murdered or killed or, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And shut down in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a time, I'll just briefly mention this, that people used to go to lynchings as if it was some type of picnic. Mm-hmm. They would take their families, there's postcards. Mm-hmm. Even for the state of Tulsa, well, not state, but for just like city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and like other different major cities. They thought it was just another form of entertainment. We're going to have a picnic with the family while someone is being lynched and burned, right? So we become so desensitized. Sorry for getting into this situation, but I'm bringing this up because of the fact that when we see something and we have an opportunity, we have choices. Mm-hmm. It's not that we must get out and start a grassroots revolution and start doing things on the streets, but we have to see how can we make those changes within our home and within ourselves so that we're not a part of the problem, but that we can be a part of a solution. Mm-hmm. Where we start to associate, using the word Sangha, mm-hmm. with individuals who help to sharpen our intelligence, to associate with those individuals or to engage in those activities that, again, are uplifting and nurturing and supporting instead of demoralizing and devaluing and stripping ourselves of having a voice. And then part of that is talking about living responsibly is to literally show by example. So that's where this verse comes in, which is 321 of Bhagavad Gita. It says, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. And so in one shape or form, we have a responsibility to live our lives and be we have the right to be happy. I'll just state that. We all have the right to be happy, to pursue happiness. There's freedom of speech, and one can live their life the way they see fit. But if we believe the children are our future, then we must teach them well and let them lead the way as well. And so we also have to think about not only ourselves, but what type of example are we setting for the children? Because they will be the next president, or they will be the next leader, or, whatever position they may hold. They're going to come up next. But they're going to look towards us because we're the ones handing them the baton.
Right.
And so we have to take a responsibility. And again, it's not that you have to go on some soapbox, whatever it may be, but it can just start at home, in terms of what do we do in home, Should we watch Aladdin in terms of using that as the example that you were giving, referring to certain things being presented and portrayed in on a subconscious level, or subliminal messages or hidden messages? Or can we do certain activities within our home, within our with our children, with our spouses, and with our families, brothers and sisters and moms and dads, that we are not only sharing knowledge and wisdom, but then we are bonding, developing strong, healthy families, and then we're uplifting each other. So that even when we are out in the world and we're experiencing, or we're coming across other people who may be bullies, or have their own insecurities, then at least maybe we can be the light in the world in which people can look up to us. Not that we're wanting fame and distinction, adoration, but at least to set an example so that if someone is growing up in a household where they don't have exemplary parents or people around them or role models, at least they can look and say, you know what, wow, this individual is doing something amazing. Just like Joyce, right? She was raising her son, Jordan, and she saw a wonderful family, a good husband and wife couple, and she wanted to make sure that her son also got a chance to see exemplary people and how they live and how they take care of their family and so forth. So now we see that her son is doing like amazing things. But if it wasn't for her to be able to see not only short term, but also into the future and staying as part of sight, right? Being able to see, then who knows what her son would be doing now?
Yeah.
He would have possibly, due to associating with unsavory characters, he could have been going in a whole different direction altogether with his life.
Yeah.
But because of his mom, he was shown beautiful, powerful, uplifting, images in terms of role models, mentors, and so forth. And now look at him, he wants to be a coach for others, to be a role model and uplift other people too. So it's like, so I'm pointing that out, in that you don't necessarily have to go out in the world and start, pointing fingers at people and, crack people across the head. But one thing that we can do is, when we're with our families and when we're with each other, to enthuse or encourage and be supportive of each other within the home, within the family, and let that radiate outward, like we were talking about the beauty, right? Let the beauty of that family or that community radiate in such a way that other people look at us as a light in a dark place. And so they have an example, like, what is her name? Marianne Williamson. She has that poem called Our Deepest Fears, right? And so we have to look, well, what is keeping me? Or what am I doing that's preventing me from being or living in my highest truth? You know, we always sing this song, you know, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. But when are we going to let it shine? Confirmed. You heard a chime in the background, so it confirmed it. So I just wanted to bring that in there because it still deals with sight, it still deals with seeing. But not just only what we see immediately, but taking what we see immediately and utilizing our critical thinking skill. And looking not only to today and tomorrow, but looking deep into the future, because if we don't make the adjustments now in our lives, when we have this opportunity, then when we have to wait all the way at the end, just like we were talking about cigarette smoking. Right now, if I start smoking cigarettes, I may say I don't have any problems. You know, I don't see the immediate danger at all. But as I quoted or mentioned about a good guy that I went to school with, Bernard Chevalier, how he lost his jaw and half his tongue due to smoking cigarettes and other tobacco products. And when he was doing that when he was younger, he didn't see the danger of it, but it was after a few decades that he lose his jaw and his tongue due to cancer. And so if we can make the adjustments now, then maybe we won't have such a catastrophic, you know, conclusion, meaning where we lose a lot. But if we can take care of it now, then maybe we can preserve, you know, the family, preserve, you know, different things and have those into the future, just like health. If we don't take care of ourselves now, if we don't take care of our health now, then if we don't use something properly, then we end up losing it, right? So it's in the same fashion. So,
and I was thinking, let me see what our time looks like. Okay, 5 more minutes. So one of the things that I'm very aware of is that the subject matter in which we're talking about right now, we talk about on Fridays, to most people is kind of, it's cool, but it's not it's not drama, right? Because we don't.
Oh, if they want to see some drama,
Say that drama for your mama. So I'm aware that sometimes because of the subject matter, people don't really put so much importance to it, and because society now is one in which if you don't capture their attention and you don't give it to them within 2 minutes, their span is gone. But I realized, seeing 2 examples this year on a new podcast that has been created. There was 2 people that have been on there 3 hours each, approximately. And I have more friends. I've roughly on my Facebook page about 2,000 friends.
Man.
And but
you got a lot of friends.
But most of them I know have watched like that podcast, and I have less than 2%. Less than 10% have watched these discussions. And I realize that we're not talking about drama here. So the desire someone's business being aired out is is more stimulating than how to be mindful, how to engage, one's eyes, one's taste, one's hearing in something beneficial.
Say what it is. Say what it is. Go ahead. When we're more interested in everybody else's business, and we're not interested in taking care of our own business. Just call it out what it is. I'm sorry, if you want some drama, I'm gonna give you some drama. We don't want to take care of our own business because entertaining to be in everyone else's business than it is to actually take care of what we actually really need to do. So it's pure laziness. Sorry, it's just drama.
My friends are going to go down to half.
But at the end of the day, if we're being honest with ourselves, we just, if you think about it, it's like you see this mountain, right? Mm-hmm. And you have people who are trying to play the game King of the Hill. Instead of doing what one needs to do to progress and get better, become a better person or whatever like that, we get to a certain point where we feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And everyone else that's beneath us and they're trying to come up, we are always just simply trying to put them down in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean by putting them down that we're actually advancing.
Right.
And that's really, at the end of the day, what's really going on in some shape or form. Not calling out anybody, I'm just saying I'm looking at myself because, again, I have to start with myself. I'm going to say something, I'm going to talk to myself first. Yeah. And that I have to look at what are those things that I am being lazy in. Mm. Instead of being attracted to what's going on in someone else's life, let me take a look and see what's going on in my own kitchen, right. In my own backyard, and let me address what I need to address so that I can become a better person. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm a part of the problem. I'm not part of the solution.
I was thinking,
and the revolution will not be televised.
When we first came up with the concept of Friday Flex, I was somewhat concerned. I was thinking, this is an hour. Most people would not be engaged with anything more than a minute. That's why they have trailers for like 2-minute trailers, max.
That's it.
If you got a 3-minute trailer, you've pretty much summarized the whole movie. You got a 3-minute trailer. So I was thinking 2 minutes, 1 hour. Oh, surely only a small few individuals are going to listen, mm-hmm. or to speak of care. And so for those who are listening, I'm very grateful for your time and attention, because you can be doing anything you want right now. Mm-hmm.
But instead, you're trying to uplift yourself. So mad love and respect to all of you who are always flexing and living responsibly.
Yeah, and as we get inundated with all these sensory objects, mm-hmm. My goal is to, of course, remind myself that this human form of life is extremely valuable. So maybe I should not waste it. And by talking about it, it allows me to further solidify the importance. And hopefully by me talking about it out loud, it may motivate or encourage those who listen to realize, we got more to do than just twirl our fingers and care about other people's drama, mm-hmm. And not work on the man or woman in the mirror.
What did Mama say? Big bad Mama. She said, according to Michael Jackson, start with the man in the mirror. Yeah. That's where change begins. Gotta make that change.
Gotta make the change.
Come on, girl.
So, yes, I'm just very grateful for you all, and I hope I didn't make any offenses to all 2,000 friends.
Actually, you didn't make any offenses. It'd probably be me. Hopefully, I didn't make any offenses to any of his 2,000 friends.
But the point is to be honest and to be transparent. And I think that's also why to compare this to the podcast that I was talking about. I think the reason why this podcast has gone viral is because people are being honest. And honesty is a variable which is extremely rare.
True.
And so I definitely am glad that there's a space in which honesty, even in the world in which it's not about personal development, at least there's honesty there. You know. So anyway, I've said what I think is helpful. Hopefully that you can take something with you. And till next time, flex.
Keep flexing and live responsibly, and much love and respect to everybody.
Yes. Oh, and so we're going to do 2 more mind control parts. So part 4 and 5. So we're going to do that next week, and then the week after, I'm then going to Africa, going to the motherland, and for a couple weeks, and then we'll resume back with our Friday Flex.
So that leaves us with 3 more sentences.
3 more. Oh yes.
But we can squeeze it in.
We can squeeze.
Yeah, we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, we can squeeze.
Yeah, in 2.
Squeeze the sentences in 2.
Squeeze the sentence in 2.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Till next time.